Please close your eyes.
Namastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
The glory of Ahimsa. Ahimsa is a word that's being used commonly, especially in the spiritual parlance. So, in fact, I've read about it, but the importance of it came up when I was having a meal with Melanie. She's my dosa partner. She likes dosa. Great people have similar eating habits also. So we happen to, one of those discussions, normally I don't talk, we enjoy it's food for thought at that time. And she kept on talking about Ahimsa for some reason. And I suddenly thought, there's something there, much more than what I conceived of. Elizabeth, you better sit there, otherwise you get distracted by the paintings. Okay. Let the paintings be behind. So, and that was the time I thought we should delve deeper into Ahimsa. And when I was reflecting more on it, plus we had the lecture for the tolerance committee last Saturday, so it all fitted in well. So therefore, when I reflect, off late, you take up a few concepts, reflect on it more and more. And one such concept which made enormous sense or it has great value is Ahimsa. It is this quality made ordinary people extraordinary. It is, this is what legends are made up of, Ahimsa. It is, Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word. How many of you are hearing for the first time the word Ahimsa? Anybody? Okay, raise your hands. Ahimsa is a Sanskrit word meaning non-injury. Himsa means injury, pain, suffering. Any Sanskrit word with R prefixing a Sanskrit word means non-injury, non-suffering. Welcome, Chimaryaji. Our host has come. Please give him some space. No, Chimaryaji, please come in. Chimaryaji, how else to make you popular? Chimaryaji, he's kind enough. You have no choice but to concentrate. Some privileges.
No, I don't have any pressure about it.
Listen. Shows that he doesn't check WhatsApp that often. Not like any one of us. Every 5 minutes we check. So he must have thought, where are these guys? Suddenly. Anyway. Ahimsa literally means non-injury. Non-injury. And is much more than non-injury. In simple terms, the essence of the lecture is focused on this particular statement. Most people are concerned with the act of kindness, but not with the thought of kindness or feeling of kindness. Here, especially in the month of Ramadan, kindness is personified Act of kindness is important. Much more important than the act of kindness is the thought of kindness, the feeling of kindness. So ahimsa is that. Ahimsa is not just the act of kindness. It is an act of kindness, but much more than that. So the humanity is concerned with act of kindness. Much more than that is the thought of kindness. And that is ahimsa. So the lecture is divided into what is ahimsa, why are people intolerant, some facts regarding ahimsa, and the effects of not pursuing ahimsa, as usual quotes on ahimsa, and what are the different stages of ahimsa, and how do you develop ahimsa, and some practical tips. So it's a full-on lecture. I never knew that there's so many points to be covered. And anyway, how many are hungry? You're very hungry. Anybody? Raise your hand. Extremely hungry. Because dinner will be delayed. That's what I'm telling you. You have to practice ahimsa. What is ahimsa? Ahimsa is a refusal to think, refusal to offend another in thought, word, or action. Ahimsa is a refusal to offend another in thought, word, or deed, or action. It is not to, another way, it is not to inflict any pain or suffering or harm anybody at the level of your thoughts, words, or action. The refusal to inflict any pain, any suffering at the level of your thoughts, words, or action. So that's why it is much more than the meaning of non-injury. It is not just non-injury, but much more than that. As I mentioned, some of the greatest people could be Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. All of these people use this weapon. Not just, I would say, all these people. Every parent practices ahimsa. Every guru practices ahimsa. I'm giving you, you don't need to look for outsiders who practice, or great personalities who practice ahimsa. Every parent practices ahimsa. Every mother, every father practices ahimsa. I mean, they refuse to think anything negative, anything painful at the level of their thoughts, words, or action. Find me one parent who thinks negative of their children. Find me one guru, one master who thinks negative of their own students. Everyone, in the sense, anyone in the position of responsibility, in the position of evolution, is practicing ahimsa. And this is what makes you a legend. That's why those who are grateful to their parents, I mean, if you consider your parent as legend, but they had practiced ahimsa. I mean, consciously or unconsciously. Every parent, every master practices this. I mean, it's not a conscious practice, it's an unconscious becoming. It's no parent consciously practices ahimsa. I've known parents given up their job so that they can take care of their children. They have given up their career to take care of their children. I mean, I don't know how many children will know that. Or even when they come to know, maybe they will come to know when they become parents and when they give up their jobs to take care of their children. So, ahimsa. So therefore, you got to be, see, that's a prerogative of a human being, ahimsa. You're slowly becoming more humane when you're practicing, when you're inculcating this thought. Bereft of this thought, bereft of this quality, we are like any other animal. You can devour another person and just for your own well-being and not even can think anything negative about it. Therefore, ahimsa is what makes you what you are. Therefore, it's a very special quality. Now, why are the ahimsa, as I mentioned, is non-injury? Together, what is ahimsa? Refusal to think negative, painful at the level of your thoughts, words, or action. Can we say that together? Ahimsa is refusal to think negative, at the level of your thoughts, words or actions. It's such a beautiful quality. There was this great saint, a thinker who said, happy and blessed are when wickedness stands forth revealed and goodness bereft of a guide. Who was that? God's mortal innocence. Happy and blessed are, H-O-U-R, when wickedness stands forth revealed as goodness bereft of a guide. You could be dealing with a very corrupt person, all the thought is, your thought is, it is goodness without a guide. In fact, you refuse to think negative. So, why are people, the opposite of ahimsa is himsa, meaning injurious, intolerant, harmful. Why are people intolerant? If you observe, there are, each one of us at different stages of a life, we've been intolerant. Maybe today you could have been intolerant, or maybe in the future it could be, even an unselfish person becomes intolerant. It's not that only, predominantly it's a selfish person who turns intolerant. But why is a selfish person turning intolerant? They want the world to cater to them all the time. The world we are living in is never designed for one person, therefore we are not serviced all the time, therefore we will be intolerant. It's almost like a child crying, I want it. We are almost like children being intolerant at different stages of life. You could be an unselfish person and still be intolerant. You could still be intolerant because a predominant desire of yours is not getting fulfilled. You could be unselfish. You are serving the society. You could be God's good old man, but still can experience intolerance in case a predominant desire is either being unfulfilled for a certain period of time or a considerable period of time, you will turn intolerant. So, that is one of the reasons of why people become intolerant. Now, some facts of intolerance or ahimsa. Ahimsa, I'm first trying to discuss the negative aspects of it. Therefore, we can get into the positive, how you develop ahimsa. Some facts. Ahimsa and compromise do not go together. Ahimsa and compromise do not go together. It is compromise. See, most people, I have dealt on this many times. I'm sure we are not compromising on compromise. You compromise on any aspect. Could be work, could be your health, could be your relationship. Anyone who compromises, just look at their body language. Just observe their body language. There is a care and damn attitude. You're compromising, therefore you lose interest in yourself. Any aspect you compromise, you lose an aspect of yourself, therefore you lose interest in yourself. You devolve. Anyone compromising devolves, is not really, cannot be happy. So that's why the common statement is, really, marriage means compromise. And 9 out of 10 agree to it also. Marriage means compromise. I can't make silence. Of course, what is your way? Do you think any other way? Anis, marriage is compromise? Not in, that's why I'm asking you. If you are, I am not asking Chamariaji. Marriage is compromise. See, look at the answer. Smile. See, let me tell you, marriage is never compromise. Relationship is never compromise. Work is never compromise. Wealth is never compromise. Anything you compromise, you lose an aspect of yourself. Work should not be compromise. Work should be exhilarating. You should look forward to work. You should look forward to the day. You should look forward to, if you're going for a dinner, look forward to going for a dinner. You have no idea when Melanie and myself go for dosa. We go on dosa expedition. We have seen many places. Every time, she's become an expert in tasting sambar. She knows which place has better sambar. So, you have a recorder? Yeah. We are using digital to store for posterity. You recorded it. Even me before. So, was it recorded? Okay. Right. So, where are we? Compromise. Ahimsa and compromise do not go together. If you are compromising, it's like putting up with trouble. Ahimsa is the opposite. You put up trouble with pleasure. It's another stage of ahimsa is called titiksha, tolerance. I'll explain to you more. So, ahimsa is dealing with your life well. Probably you would rise above even a trouble when you practice ahimsa. The next aspect is, that's why they say the first sign of self-sufficiency, evolution, is tolerance. We will get to that very soon. Effects of not practicing ahimsa, effects of not practicing or maintenance tolerance. If you're not in alignment with ahimsa, I'm talking about non-injury, we seem to miss out on the God-given gifts. Each one is bestowed from the day we are born. Each one of us, without discrimination, nature has gifted us some fabulous qualities, fabulous elements in us. Number one, smile. You find a person who is injurious to themselves and others, they lose the potential of smile. It's natural to us. Each one of us is born with this quality, irrespective of your gender, your caste, your nationality, religion. Each one is born with that potential of smile. Number two, laughter. You find a person who is injurious, not practicing ahimsa, they lose the potential to laugh. When I talk about laughter, is a belly laughter. You have no idea what laughter does. I'm not talking about the laughing club here, please. Laughing club is forcefully laugh. Nothing works, laughing club is fine. Imagine, that's the reason, whenever there is genuine laughter, that most of my lectures, there is some kind of lightheartedness I bring in. Because somewhere down the line, why was I thinking so seriously about it? But there is that notion where laughter, smile, laughter, loss of memory. It's a God-given gift. As I mentioned, it's not forgetfulness. Loss of memory. You have no idea if only you reflect on it even deeper, what a gift it is for us. Loss of memory. If only each one of us have a distinct memory of all the negative things that happened in our life, you won't be sitting here. You will be under the earth. You can't survive. It's nature's gift to each one of us. Somewhere down the line, that recycle bin, it works. That's why be cautious what you want to retain in your memory. You have no idea what it does to you. And that's the reason children don't retain certain aspects. They would have fought with you the previous day, next day they play with you fully, but you have not forgotten. You will say, yesterday I was a devil, now you want to play with me. The child was not even have a memory of what happened yesterday. But that loss of that's why I'm sure you remember one fundamental cause for depression is when you replay an incident which has already happened multiple times, which you don't have a resolution to it. You're not able to bring a resolution to an incident which has already happened. You keep on playing it in your mind without bringing in a solution. You will be depressed because you're going against nature. You're going against the plan of divinity. Nature has given us this potential to erase certain things by itself. But you forcefully bring it. You don't want to forget. Now, how can she do it? How can he do that to me? You keep on. Why did that happen? You keep on playing it. What will be the solution? What will be the result? So, loss of memory. Smile, laughter, loss of memory, and the last one, which is the most profound gift we're given, the choice of action. The choice of action. You don't make the right choices. You give in. You give in. Therefore, those who are not practicing ahimsa, non-injury, or those who are injurious to themselves and to others, they've lost this potential. Smile. Can we get the words of Mother Teresa? If you can't give anything, at least give a smile. If you can't give anything, at least give a smile. You can't give a smile if you are filled with agitation, suppression, annoyance, depression. Smile, laughter. That's when I say there should be a state. If you are evolving, there will be a state where you laugh at your own mistakes. Can't imagine how I did that. You laugh at yourself. See, that's when you are actually taking it right, taking it in the right way. You laugh at it. Could be something which you're fascinated by materially, or physically you're fascinated by, or some of the choices. You laugh at yourself. Then a problem is not a problem. How did I do it? What a ridiculous thing I had because you have done. You can't laugh at yourself. If you are evolving properly, you laugh at yourself. Can't imagine. I allowed this to control me. This person or this object to control me. You're being nice. You're being right to yourself. So the next is the way the mind functions. If you're not practicing ahimsa, the mind dynamics is any deep emotion you go through, whatever it is, good or bad, any deep emotion, intense emotion you go through, your mind, the programming is, it thinks this is what you need. So you would repeat such experiences. Any could be positive or negative. Any emotion which is experienced intensely. The way the mind is programmed is, the mind understands, the way the nature of the mind is, it programs this is what you need more. Therefore, the mind creates such experiences. That's why you got to know what kind of emotions you feel intensely. You feel, that's why we always say, start the day with gratitude. Why do we say that? You start the day in a profound way. The mind gets programmed. This is what you need. Therefore, gratitude becomes a way you function. Any emotion felt intensely. That's really rare. You find the mind creates such avenues, or any aspect will create. It's stored in the memory. Any intense emotion is stored in the memory. Any shallow experience is not stored in your memory. So, therefore, that's the second aspect. Effects of not practicing ahimsa. You will attract a lot of negative emotion, negative people in your life. The third one is, with intolerance you develop, where you're selfish, you become intolerant. With intolerance you develop indifference. First is selfishness, you become intolerant. With intolerance you become indifferent. With indifferent you lose emotions. I've discussed this before, but it's a very important aspect. If you have lost emotions to a person or your work or a place, just see the way you relate with them, relate with that aspect. With selfishness comes intolerance. With intolerance comes indifference. With indifference arises a lack of emotion. With lack of emotion, you have lost it. Meaning, you could be working, but there is no, when you lose emotions, you lose the joy or interest in work, or you could be in a relationship, the relationship doesn't exist. That's why we always say, you leave a person first in your thoughts, then you leave the physical. First, you leave a person or a work in your thoughts, then you leave physically. Nobody just overnight suddenly decide and walk out. You have lost the joy of work or the happiness of being with the person. Mentally you have lost it. And physically it will manifest sometime or the other. That's why anything which it doesn't manifest just like that. There is a train of thoughts. There is some cause. Therefore, selfishness or wrong thinking, I would say, leads to intolerance. With intolerance comes indifference. See, at the level of indifference, at least something can be worked out. Because there's still emotions. When indifference comes in or indifference becomes predominant, you lose the emotions to the person. And with losing emotions to the person, your relationship with work or with the place or with the person drops. In fact, there's no relationship. That's why I say you lose. Anything you leave, you leave at mental, at the thought level you leave. Then it manifests at the physical level. Now, stages of Ahimsa. What are the progressive? Now, having discussed why the ill effects of not practicing Ahimsa, how do you develop Ahimsa? What are the stages involved in it? The first stage, as I mentioned, if you have to be a human or evolving person, you've got to move from being selfish to unselfish. There's no other way. No other way. There is no progress for selfish people. There is one set of people who say, look here, if all the world has made enormous progress because they are selfish. It is not that they are selfish, they are goal-oriented. They are goal-oriented and they have achieved. Any kind of a success is gained through tapas. They have worked hard, they have been doing it in the right way. So, it is, it's like you go for yoga every day or you attend the lectures every week. And if somebody tells you, you're very selfish. Now what would you say? Look here, I'm doing it for my evolution. Eventually you become a better individual. This cannot, if the world is abounding with success and prosperity, they've been working in the right way. So therefore, you should erase the misconception. Therefore, the first stage is turning from being selfish to unselfish. With that aspect, with unselfishness or with sustained unselfishness, what you will experience is tolerance. Sustained unselfishness. The unselfishness is what? You can accommodate others' interests. It's not just me. You can accommodate. Muditji was kind enough. He got up and gave his space and went back. And hopefully he's not checking his WhatsApp. Thank God, otherwise I'm sitting here. Muditji, you're taking notes, right? Huh? He has got to that level of, not just, I'll explain later. He reached a certain level. The smile, laughter is full blast. Loss of memory also. Plus forgetfulness. So both are happening. So when sustained period of unselfishness, you develop tolerance. Tolerance is another beautiful quality. Again, one of the qualities of a bhakta, devotee. The Sanskrit word is titiksha, for tolerance. The literal meaning is to go through inconvenience with pleasure. You experience difficulty with peace. Titiksha, tolerance, literally means you experience difficulty with peace. You go through inconvenience with tranquility. That's why I can take every mother who delivers a child, 9 months, such a difficulty, but they go through with tranquility. The moment the child is born, it's different. Or you may have a guest, you may have only one bedroom, and you may give your bedroom to the guest, and you could be sleeping on the hall, on the drawing room. You will be sleeping there. Your uncle and aunt have come, and you can't make them sleep in the hall. You would give your bedroom, and you will be sleeping in the hall. It is a bit of inconvenience, but done with pleasure. Even if they say, no, why don't it be okay, we'll sleep on the floor, now you would say, no, please, you sleep there, you rest there, it's fine. You go through a little bit of inconvenience with pleasure. Chamaryaji goes through every Wednesday. Suddenly 30-40 people occupy his space. And the food is, the salad is over, suddenly he finds new salad comes. New kind of a salad comes. They going through inconvenience with pleasure. And I've seen when Nupur used to deal with it, that the menu itself is different. Chart items. She has not been there for a while, so we're missing out. When I knew it's only Nupur taking care, I finished the lecture early. I knew it is. So you go through a little bit of inconvenience with pleasure. I want you to reflect on the beauty of titiksha, tolerance. So tolerance is a fair, the dictionary meaning is a fair, objective and permissive attitude. Tolerance is a fair, objective and permissive attitude towards those whose beliefs or personal characteristics, which is race, religion, nationality, differ from one's own. Tolerance is a fair, objective and permissive attitude towards those whose beliefs or personal characteristics like race, religion or nationality differ from one's own. That's the dictionary meaning, but the spiritual meaning is much more intense. Even though it conveys the same, but going through inconvenience with pleasure. The next stage, first stage of developing ahimsa, tolerance, ahimsa is moving from selfishness to unselfishness. With sustained unselfishness, you become tolerant. With sustained tolerance, you develop acceptance. There are very few people who find it easy to develop acceptance because they have not practiced tolerance. Sustained practice of tolerance, you develop acceptance. Acceptance is to experience things and people as they are, not what you want them to be. That is acceptance. It is not that I accept you, Anis. It's not that I say that. Acceptance means it's a confirmation given by your intellect to the mind that things and people are as they are, not what you want them to be. Whatever it is, period. That's acceptance. Someone is coming up, it will be very warm. You accept nature, you accept people as they are, not what you want them to be. If you have a potential to correct them, you should keep working on improving the quality of lives of people or environment. But at any stage there is acceptance. At any stage there is acceptance. And acceptance comes in provided you have sustained tolerance. That's why you are tolerant to your children, therefore you accept all the mistakes of your children. You are intolerant to the neighbor's children, you can't accept their pranks. Devils coming in. Especially when they're playing with your children's toys and they have not kept the toys back. You scream at their other children, but your own children, I don't want to say. There is not much of tolerance towards other children, therefore there is non-acceptance. So, the next stage in ahimsa, let's say it's progressive stages. First is unselfishness, moving from selfishness to unselfishness. Next is tolerance. With sustained tolerance comes acceptance. With sustained acceptance comes compassion. Compassion is a beautiful quality. And let me tell you, how do you explain compassion? It's difficult. It is sustained acceptance. You don't even find any mistake in this. You will understand this is how it is. It's a very powerful stage of acceptance. It looks like acceptance, but it's compassion. And let me tell you, you want to reform people, it is only through compassion. There's no other way. No other way. Discipline, rules will help you for a short period of time, but compassion alters it. Alters it. But do you have it in you whereby you have developed compassion? Compassion is very pure form of love. Very pure form of love. It is, that's why a sustained acceptance is compassion. And it's not weak pity, it is, that's why anyone who is practicing, not practicing, is an embodiment of compassion, no explanation needed. You don't need to explain to others, why I did whatever I did. No. They don't expect your explanation. They don't expect your. Christ never expected explanation from those who nailed him to the cross. Did he say, look here, give me one reason. He was looking at give me one reason. Can I have a lawyer and I would like to deal with it in the right way? He didn't have it. Did he even ask for a reason? Compassion is that. No explanation needed. No explanation wanted. Absolutely understood. Absolutely understood. That's compassion. I don't know. It is any pure emotion, when you explain it, is not that easy. That's why I say compassion. You have compassion. You're different. It is an intense feeling of identification with others. It's a complete identification with others. Therefore, when you identify with others, do you expect them to explain why they did whatever they did? It's understood. Perfectly understood. That's why I say any relationship is beautiful. You could have made a mistake and the other person wants to explain what it's okay, it's fine. It's not that out of ego you say. It's okay. I understand. You have no idea how it feels to the other person. Because you won't explain, and it is acceptance is made due to compassion, the acceptance is total. And would you even think of committing another mistake? Because of the quality of a relation, quality of an individual dealing with. That's the grandeur of compassion. These are all human potential. Can you imagine if you don't see? That's why I say it's power. Compassion is power. With compassion comes various other qualities like forgiveness and all other things. But with that it comes. That's why Mahatma Gandhi made a statement. The weak says forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. The weak can never forgive. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. The weak can never forgive. Those who have compassion can forgive. Christ had compassion for people, even for those who nailed him to the cross, he was able to forgive. So, with unselfishness, tolerance, acceptance, and compassion, what you develop is absolute objectivity, where your intellect along with your conscience makes your actions absolutely perfect. Intellect plus conscience makes your actions perfect. You're free from attachment, there is no craving or anxiety. It is the true form of self-sufficiency. This absolute objectivity. True form of self-sufficiency. Say, when you have this absolute objectivity, you live your life with Ahimsa. That is when you refuse to think anything negative at the level of your thoughts, words, or action. Or practicing Ahimsa is effortless. Effortless. In all other stages, there's some effort, some hard work associated. Once you have reached this stage, that's why the cause and effect. Unselfishness is a cause, tolerance is an effect. Tolerance is a cause, Sustained tolerance is a cause, acceptance is an effect. Powerful acceptance is a cause, compassion is an effect. Compassion is a cause, objectivity is an effect. With objectivity, ahimsa, being non-injurious, is effortless. You refuse to think. The thought of negativity or inflicting pain at the level of your thoughts, words, or action ceases to exist. It is not there. There is no effort. It is effortless practice of ahimsa. Stages in ahimsa. Therefore, you got to understand. That's why what started off as a casual discussion over a dosa. That's why most of my topics are inspired by people. It is anyway. I'm sure in the future also this could be a very important topic for us. So what is the stages? Unselfishness. Why I'm repeating this? Maybe it's a new thought flow for you, even for me. Unselfishness, tolerance, acceptance, compassion, objectivity. With this, see, if you have gone through this grind, you are practicing, you are living ahimsa. You are living this quality. You are not practicing it, you are living it. And when you live it, just imagine, you are incapable of thinking others can do harm to you, and you are incapable of inflicting harm to others. It is one of the qualities of a bhakta, a devotee of God. Far from what we know as of a devotee. You all think devotee means is singing kirtans. Much more than that. See, one who does not agitate the world, one who is not agitated by the world, that's a bhakta. That is a bhakta. So, that is the progressive stages of ahimsa. So ahimsa looks very simple. Refusal to think anything negative at the level of your thoughts, words, or action. It looks easy when I make that statement, but it's a becoming. Martin Luther King, he said, we must learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or perish together as fools. We should learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or perish together as fools. With selfishness and intolerance, you perish together. In a way, you perish together as fools. You should learn to live together as brothers and sisters, or you perish together as fools. And another ahimsa, another beautiful quote of Mandela, and I've stated this before, but it perfectly fits into Mandela, to this concept. Mandela, when he walked out of the prison after 27 years, those who have been to the Robben Island, in the prison cell he lived, incredible. I remember this stretch and that stretch, that's all. That's all his space for 27 years. When he came out of the prison, and when he said, as I walked out of the prison and walked into freedom, as I walked out of the prison and walked into freedom, I understood if I do not walk out of the anger and hatred towards those who imprison me, I will still consider myself to be in prison. When I walked out of the prison and walked into freedom, I understood if I do not walk out of the hatred and anger towards those who imprison me, I will still consider myself to be in prison, said Mandela. Ahimsa. These are all examples. 27 years. I always say, somebody holds you back for 27 minutes. What is your reaction? 27 years. The legends are made up of a different stuff. It is not simple. It is not simple. Gandhi, one who spearheaded ahimsa, he said, any fool can find shanti in shanti. Shanti means peace. Said any fool can find peace in peaceful circumstances. But you got to be a person of caliber to find Shanti in Ashanti. Prefixing any Sanskrit word means non. You got to be a person of caliber to find peace in non-peaceful circumstances. Only if you are an Ahimsavadi, you can find peace in non-peaceful circumstances. You must be the change you wish to see in the world, said Gandhi. As I mentioned, forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. The weak can never forgive. Rumi, raise your words, not your voice. It's the rain that grows flowers, not thunder, said Rumi. Raise your words, not your voice. It is the rain that grows flowers, not thunder. In the lecture, I raise my voice, don't get me wrong. Otherwise, each one goes into different states of consciousness. You may not be aware, but I am standing here, I am aware. They look intently focusing. Anyway, again, another quote of Rumi. The art of knowing is knowing what to ignore. Art of knowing is knowing what to ignore. If you are practicing Ahimsa, you know what to ignore. Like he says, it's art. He says that's knowledge. Art of knowing is knowing what to ignore. Our knowing is that which this I can't ignore, understand? Therefore, carry on with it and suffer. This and all I can't ignore. You bring in your ego. That aspect is changed, then I'll be better. Or I can relate with you. You can't relate with anybody, even with yourself you can't relate. Anyway, so Ahimsa. Now, how to develop Ahimsa? We saw the progressive stages of Ahimsa. How to develop Ahimsa? Better understood with an example. I remember reading this beautiful article and it made enormous sense. See, in a highway, you are driving your car, there is a person tailgating you. Tailgating, Ruchikaji, you know? No.
Cutting short and going forward.
Correct. Cutting short. They are actually behind you, trying to say, look here, move. Or a person is in the front. You want to go fast and that fellow is not giving way. And what do? You get angry. There are people, you move around and then stop and then go slow. Or, I remember, I think it was Muscat, the fellow was screaming. And my host, he had no idea what he was talking about. Because he was busy talking to me. I was afraid. I said, look here. Anyway, so they say you can get angry, you can get annoyed, you can scream, you can get into a road rage and do whatever you want. So it's a beautiful piece of message. He said, in the road called life and in dealing with the traffic called relationships, it's not who's right, it's not who's right or who's wrong. It's whose life, and it's your life instead. It is in the road called life, and in dealing with traffic called relationships. It's not who's right or who's wrong. It is whose life, and it's your life. You can bang against this guy, or you can get into a road rage and massacre a person. It's not who's right or who's wrong. You could be right, and other person could be wrong. It is not a question of who's right or who's wrong. It's a question of whose life. And your life is at stake. Your life is at stake. Therefore, in your interest, you have to develop these qualities. So, how long are you going to complain? How long are we going to complain? We can blame others. We can blame various aspects for what is not going right in our life. Blaming doesn't change anything, but taking responsibility changes everything. Try blaming and blaming doesn't change anything. Taking responsibility does. That's why responsibility means responding with your ability. Taking responsibility does. So, how to develop Ahimsa? Take responsibility for your thoughts and emotions. Don't allow it. Don't allow another person to control your thoughts and emotions. Don't allow another person to influence your thoughts and emotions. If you have to be influenced, you got to influence in the right way. In a growth area, you should be influenced. You should see, you are so weak. You are as strong as the last person you met. Somebody told something, you're changed. In a parking lot, or somebody, look here, this and all does not work. See, everything, is written. You can attend lectures, but whatever is written here, that alone will happen. Oh, really? Then I don't want to attend. You drop it. Whatever is written, it is how you deal with whatever is written. I am not saying it's written. Okay, it's written. That doesn't mean that I have to go through it. I will deal with it gracefully. So, blaming others, blaming the world, blaming people does nothing. Taking responsibility does everything to you. How responsible you become to your own life determines how well you live your life. So, take responsibility. That's why I say, God helps who help themselves. Lord Krishna in the Gita made a beautiful statement. He says, Uddhare Atmanatmanam. He says, you have to raise yourself by yourself. You are your greatest friend and you are your worst enemy. You are your greatest friend and your worst enemy. We can easily be the enemy. We can be an enemy to ourselves if you keep continuing to blame. You will be the greatest friend, you take responsibility. It could be, I'll be the first millionaire in my generation. Or I'll be the first person who serves most in my generation, in my family. Taking responsibility does. So, Ahimsa appears difficult, but you take responsibility, therefore you move from being selfish to unselfish. With that thing, you develop all these qualities, then changes happen. Incredibly well changes happen because you're not blaming others. It's not a question of who's right, who's wrong, it's a question of whose life it is. And your life is at stake. Every time our life is at stake. And what does blaming help? You can continue to blame. That's why even in the message I said, there's no point in shouting, have you understood me? The question is, have I understood you? The other way around. If your understanding is perfect, things will change. That is taking responsibility. Some practical tips. I always say the favorite sign is U-turn in the roads when you drive. The favorite sign is U-turn. Literally means U-turn. You are the worst person I met. U-turn. Or whatever it is, something goes wrong in your life, U-turn. You turn inwards. Why? Instead of asking why all this is happening, you turn. What is this trying to teach me? I mentioned this last week also. You turn. Any aspect, you internalize it. Not beating yourself down, you internalize it. You work on yourself to raise yourself. Therefore, you don't go through that experience one more time. You don't go through the experience one more time. If you go through a certain kind of a suffering, it should be the last time you go through it. You turn. Because you take responsibility. Next, any experience plus acceptance is Ahimsa. Any experience plus acceptance is Ahimsa. Any experience plus non-acceptance is disturbance, is Himsa. Any experience you go through, often we say, imagine Chimarelji invites you for a tea in this place. And the granddaughter wants to serve tea. And she said, while serving tea, this tea spills on your trouser. And you want to portray that you are environment friendly, socially conscious, wearing linen trousers, white trouser. Hot tea spills on your trouser. And the kid is about to apologize. But it's okay, it happens. If it is your own child, one slap. Any experience plus acceptance is ahimsa. Any experience plus acceptance. Any experience plus non-acceptance after what do you call it? Those who want to attend, but sorry, 7:45 is, if it is 8:15 I can come. Non-acceptance is difficult. Any experience you go through, see, you don't need to worry about which experience you have going through. You should be concerned about, am I bringing in acceptance in that experience or non-acceptance? That's all. You convert acceptance or you convert non-acceptance or acceptance, you are on the path of practicing ahimsa. Any experience, it's a very easy and simple equation. You have, if you are agitated, frustrated, what is it you are not accepting in that experience? And convert that. You are on the path of becoming a ahimsavadi. You are on the verge of transforming yourself. Any other way, I'm telling you, there will be intolerance. There will be intolerance. With intolerance, sustained intolerance, you become indifferent. Sustained indifferent, you lose emotions. And it doesn't work. So, those who are random people, Dubai is not that great. They've lost emotions to the place. I'm not saying you should have great emotions. Any place, you have lost emotion, but there's a sequence. There's a sequence to it. It doesn't happen just like that. Any experience, can we bring in acceptance? For you to bring in acceptance, there should have been tolerance. For you to bring in tolerance, you have to be unselfish. If you are able to bring it, these are practical tips, friends. Appears a very simple, and you could have heard it 100 times, a few thousand times, but are you implementing it in your life? How can you be agitated if there is an element of non-acceptance? If there is non-acceptance, how can you get to the state of ahimsa? So, think about it. We'll conclude with a few statements. It's a beautiful statement, Martin Luther King. I have decided to stick with love. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Hate is too great a burden to bear. I thought a simple statement, extremely profound. He says, look at that. Finally he says, he's one of those persons who's gone through a lot. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. You just have to see those who have developed hatred. It is a burden. It's too great a burden to bear. He went ahead and said, the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Function of education is to teach people to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. Therefore, all that I'm saying is, it's not mere intelligence which is enough. Intelligence plus character. In fact, the other way around, you have character, but you also will develop intelligence in the field you have to develop. You have intelligence and no character. You will develop, you will be intolerant, you will have non-acceptance, you will develop hatred, and what of it? You're just another statistical entity who just survived or sustained in this planet Earth for a while and vanished. You want to be a legend? You got to know what legends have done, what they have gone through. Ahimsa is one of those profound quality of a legend. You have no idea what it is. I'm not blaming anybody. See, Ahimsa elevates a human being almost on stage of a divine being. So, therefore, probably that's the reason when Einstein met Mahatma Gandhi, when he came out, when he met the media, when they asked him, he made this statement. He says, future generations will refuse to believe that such a man in flesh and blood walked on this earth. Ahimsa. Future generations will refuse to believe that such a man in flesh and blood walked on this earth. I don't think all that I'm saying is, we are all legend material. That's what I'm saying. We are playing too low. We are playing too small. And for a long time we have played small and low. It's time to raise ourselves. Each one there is a legend in the making. But are you gifting yourself the responsibilities? It's a legend in the making. These people, I don't think they stumbled upon it just like that. They understood it. They worked upon it. It is not easy. It is not easy. It's not just, when I say it's not just non-refusal, it's not refusal to think anything negative at the level of the thoughts, words or action. It is a becoming. It's a part of your DNA. You live that life. You live that life. If that is a human potential, how long are we going to play low? How long are we going to play small? Therefore, think about it. That is what we are capable of. And that is what we should aspire for. And even you fall short, it's still fine. I mean, you are on the verge of, on the path of becoming a legend. And let me tell you, all legends pursued it. Could be Buddha, could be Mahavir, could be Christ, could be Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, your parents, your teachers. That's why you don't need to go to another place. Just look around. There are enough and more people who practice Ahimsa and still doing it. And still doing it. And get inspired by that. They stop playing low. Live up to your potential. Let us not become another statistical entity. Let our life count. The fact that you are here, let it be counted. Let your presence be felt. Think about it. Thank you very much. Next week we will discuss on insecurity. Speak on the, what do you call, bring up a topic, but sense of insecurity. Thank you.